Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads. Today, guys, we got something a little different, a little bit of an extra video. Now, you could call it a cover reveal for one of my favorite indie authors, and we are joined by the typographist. We've got, hold on, do I know how arrows work? Virginia and Lucas, the cover illustrator, and then the man himself down below, John Bierce, author of, well, Mage Errant series, which I have read and thoroughly enjoyed. John, introduce yourself, good sir.
I'm John Bierce. Like Andrew said, I'm the author of Mage Errant and the poorly timed The Rack, a plague novel that came out during COVID, right at the beginning. And my new series, More Gods and Stars, is a sword and sorcery progression fantasy set on the habitable moon of a gas giant, featuring a mimic-based ecosystem, uncounted millions of gods, and a pseudo-medieval megastructure arcology spreading uncontrollably across the landscape. It's got a lot of moving parts, but I had a ton of fun writing it. It's coming out February 11th, and I'm very excited to show it off to folks.
How long have you been working on this one? Because I know Mage Errant wrapped up about a year ago, and then you did your short story collection.
So I wrote the very first chapter of this book in 2021. During the writing of Mage Errant 5, or something like that. And yeah, it just came to me one day, like a couple of ideas that I had sitting around in my head, kind of two of them just like coalesced together, and I just had to sit down and write it. And then just was waiting around for ages and ages. And then after I finished Mage Errant 7, I got to work on this. This has been the hardest book I've ever written. Like, partially it's because life's been hectic the past couple of years, but also because I went really heavy on research for this one. I don't have a list of all the books I read for research, which thanks ADHD, but I'm at minimum it's around 40 nonfiction alone, plus more for like fiction for mood research and stuff. And yeah, I completely fleshed out the economic system of this world and went kind of nuts for something that's ultimately just about two wandering adventurers causing a mess.
So you say you've been writing this since 2021. You say you've done a lot of research. This is kind of a small aside, but is this a connected universe to Mage Errant? I have to ask that question.
It is. Mage Errant and The Rack, set in a different universe, but same multiverse.
Okay. If you want to know the answer to that, go read Mage Errant, because that's a very poignant question that I need to ask, and it's been burning in the back of my head. But yeah, so I've got an arc of the city. I believe it's the city that would eat the world is the name of book one, and the magic system is fascinating. How did you come up with this magic system?
So I mentioned earlier I had like two ideas that coalesced together. One of those was the magic system, right? Like, while I was writing Mage Errant, like I love doing it, but having such like a systematized, legible system of magic where everything is just like consistent. You can do a ton of creative stuff with it, but it all operates on the same rules, so on and so forth. I wanted to do something a little bit more hectic, as it were, a little more individualized, not just for creative reasons, but like actually for kind of world building and political ones too. Not to go too deep into leftist political theory, but kind of one of my core texts is this book called Seeing Like a State by James C. Scott. And he's really into this idea called legibility, right? Where governments, corporations, whoever, rather than trying to better their understanding of the world, they would rather make the world more understandable, right? Make everyone own property that's in squares, right? Forest communities don't have last names, take on last names. They're easier to pay get taxes from them. And so I wanted to make a magic system that was less legible in this sense. Also, I just like having tons and tons of little gods.
It's fascinating. I'm very early on because my reading's very chaotic right now, but I have been just slowly coming in for a page or two. Frankly, because I have to know. The way I experienced Mage Errant was, well, through the audiobooks. Do we have an audiobook also lined up for that as well?
Yep, it is coming out on February 11th with the ebook and paperback and everything else. It's being narrated by Robin Miles, who also did N.K. Jemisin's Broken Earth trilogy.
Okay.
She did an amazing job. Like it's really good.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. That's gonna make a lot of my indie reader friends happy. They always want to know, is there an audiobook? And I'm like, John Bierce, yeah, of course. Like there's always been an audiobook so far. So we are here to talk about the cover. And we have your illustrator here and the typographist as well. How did the kind of art direction process / idea / sketches all come together to make the cover that we will be revealing in a few minutes?
Well, I was actually thinking maybe before telling you any about that, just hopping straight in and showing you.
Sure. Yeah, this is your rodeo. If you want to show, go ahead and show.
Yeah, let's present the goodies right up front. All right.
Okay.
I mean, you already got me rambling about leftist. All right.
All right. And adding to the screen, we have the city that would eat the world.
Dun, dun.
Look at that.
Yay.
More gods than I'm sorry, I'm just taking it in. Wow. Like, I wish I could. Can I make this go full screen on my? Yes, I can. Ooh, I get to zoom in. All right. Well, the typography is amazing. I love the way it works with the illustration. How did that kind of?
Yeah.
Did you and Virginia? Did you and Lucas collaborate on making this typography work with the cover?
No, we just John played middleman, and I was sent the totally finalized artwork.
Okay.
And then just did my best not
collaboration.
to mess it up. Because with gorgeous artwork like that, that's really your only job as a typographer, is just like, don't F up the artwork, make sure that everyone can see it. And it was a challenge because, as you can see, there's a lot going on. And it's all beautiful, and I'm like, I don't want to cover up any of this, and yet we do want the title to be legible at thumbnail size, ideally, because of Amazon, etc. So
I just saw the lamppost and the way the eyeballs are sticking through the W.
yeah, that was really fun.
That's
So
awesome.
You really nailed it. Like it looks amazing. Like
Oh,
you just
thank you.
absolutely nailed it.
Oh, yeah.
I had
Beautiful.
kind of envisioned the lamppost guy just kind of like in comics, they'll have him like cut out and sitting in front of like the O or something like that. I was just like, should be able to do something fun with it. And then to have you like actually like interact with the title is just such a good move.
It's one of my favorite things to do with typography, is to bring forth bits of cover art, and this was so fun to do that with because of all the little pieces of the mimics peeking out. So that was delightful. I really enjoyed that. And it's interesting because it was very different from the original concept that John and I talked about, because originally when we chatted, he had wanted me to turn all of the, well, not all of, but a lot of the letters into mimics themselves. And I was really excited about doing that. But when we got down to it, we realized that was actually too much going on the cover, because there were already tons of mimics in the cover. We can challenge the audience to count all the mimics on the cover. And and so instead of that, we tested it, but it was really just too busy. And I had already made space for some of the mimics playing with the text anyway. So then adding more mimics on top of that seemed like a bit much. And that was my dog howling in the background. So instead there's just, I tried to let them pop forward and not hide any of them if I could avoid it. But it really, I mean, the artwork is so cool. Like I said, my goal was just to not cover up too much of it.
I'm speechless trying to take all this in. I'm noticing the tuning fork, which appears in the first chapter. Something about resonance with mimics, and like the first page, we've got, I'm assuming this is the main character using a tuning fork to try and remove a small mimic from a wall.
She's using the little mimics or the little tuning forks for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair
But
enough.
yeah, she fights with a big tuning fork too. So
This is I love mimics. Like I don't think you understand how much I'm vibing with the mimic vibe.
I love mimics too. And it's always made me a little bit sad that people just turn them into a treasure chest, right? And there's just sometimes do more
It's
creative
a
stuff
bench,
with it.
isn't
But
it? I thought that was a chest, and it's a bench.
it's a bench.
Yeah.
Eating a bird.
Terrifying bench. Don't sit on that bench. You can
Oh
see that
my
a bird
goodness.
already made
mean,
that
if-
mistake.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not a bird, you're fine. You know, it's not big enough to.
I don't know. I think that could take a big chunk out of me.
Yeah, probably.
This is beautiful. Lucas, how did you go about creating this?
Well, I mean, it started just with conversations with John. We've been friends for years and been in separate countries since the beginning of the pandemic. So we just once or twice. It's probably closer to once a month, but like we'll just get on Zoom and just hang out for like a few hours. And it's usually like we were saying beforehand, like it's usually I'm a huge night owl, and it's like it's not healthy for me. I should stop doing that. But like yeah, so it's usually like 10 p.m. something like that my time, and then we'll be logging off at like 1 or 2 a.m. And it's earlier in the day for John certainly, but no, I've been following the process of him just writing this, like getting updates and like just his excitement about the story. And so by the time we decided just that he wanted me to do the cover, it was just I felt like I was already a little bit familiar with the world, even though I hadn't read any of the book yet. And from there, yeah, it was just all right. The book's done. Let's get the ball rolling on getting some art together. And kind of rambling now, but that's pretty much how it came about. And then of course, a lot of the details come from this like amazing Ernst Haeckel book that John just shipped to me. Because this is a Haeckel's a major reference for just the kind of the look of the way the mimics kind of operate and unfold into kind of monster form in the world. And so that was kind of our starting point. And then I got the character descriptions, and we spent a while. I'm sure we'll show you some sketches in a bit, but like we just started with some basic character designs first, and then just kind of a typical cover art process where we do thumbnails and then rough sketches and then a tight drawing with all the details in it ready to be painted. And I work digitally for things like this because I'm honestly just not a good enough traditional painter to with this kind of detail. And kind of a few of our touchstones were some of the Discworld artists.
I can see some inspiration there.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that tracks.
We were talking about how like Josh Kirby and
Paul
Kidby is the other guy. Is it Paul Kidby? Okay, I keep calling them
so.
both Josh, and I'm embarrassed about it. Yeah, so it was Paul Kidby and Josh Kirby. Talking about how different their art styles were, but like somewhere in the middle, like was kind of a vibe that was kind of perfect for this, where you still get some of that expressive cartooniness, but that it's a little less like frenetic and psychedelic like the Kirby stuff.
There's so much detail,
great.
and yet it flows so beautifully.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's this is the main challenge. It's just like if you're gonna have a in comics we call it a Where's Waldo. If you're gonna have a Where's Waldo, like for you have to make sure that there's certain things that pop out. And I tried to make the you just paint everything dead on straight. And then the luxury of digital illustration is that you can push and pull things and like give more contrast to things. And yeah, there is a version of this that is just, you know, it's done, but it's indecipherable because it's just, you know, the background is not fading into the distance, and the you know, the buildings are just melding into the tuning fork, and so that's you really just want to get all the forms down and get all the lighting, and then worry about, like, you know, pushing and pulling things. And of course in traditional painting you can't do that. You have to plan it for the most part ahead of time.
So from first sketch
Well,
to finished product, how long did that process take you?
I mean, it wasn't like full on 8-hour days or anything, but it was, you know, about 2 weeks, I think, because, like, you know, but that's just working on it part time. So there would be like the first week we would go through some sketches and stuff, and revise the characters, because it was important to just like get the look of the characters first. Because, you know, if one of them is going to have antlers or a tall hat or something like that, we want to make sure we get that right, so that when I am thumbnailing it, you can plan the kind of like triangular spaces and stuff that those take up. Whereas if I just, you know, started thumbnailing with 2 figures and then find out that one of them has like 6 arms or something, then, you know, it's just like, well, that's an element that's being wasted in this composition. So yeah, it's that kind of, you just start with the look and feel, and then have a few conversations, a few Zoom meetings, and then from there it was just the concept was very much John's. Like, it was always going to be these characters, just sort of a snapshot of them in their world on one of these like tall walls that cover, you know, the world, with cities built on them, and sort of, you know, very this like vertical expansion, and just them kind of existing in character with a very sort of busy illustration that showed a lot of the world elements.
Well, one thing I want to add to that is how much Lucas added to everything at the conceptual level. Like, when I originally pictured it, it would just be like they're standing on the wall, parallel to the camera, I suppose, with the city sprawling out behind them. The current layout, where they're on the edge of the wall, where you're looking at the wall along the edge, that was completely Lucas's idea. Just the composition he did is so much better than what I came up, you know, what I had in my head. Like, this is the nice thing about working with artists; they're just better at like visually imagining things than us poor word botherers. No, and one thing too, whenever I commission a cover, I never commission it after the book is done. I usually commission it somewhere around halfway through the book, right? Just to the way that indie
right,
publishing schedules work. Yeah, well, I mean, no, yeah, like I was talking about years, the early part, the planning, the research, the figuring things out, the first like third of the book, by far were the most difficult and longest. But like with my other covers, most of my other covers, like, this influenced the actual shape of the book. This statue right here, is it showing my mouse? Yeah, the statue right here with the 6 arms. Cool. Actually inspired the main method of cross-city communication in the books. I was like, hold on a second. I you know, I'm low-key obsessed with semaphore towers. Thanks to Terry Pratchett's
Clacks, the clack system.
Yeah, Clacks. Oh, Terry Pratchett influenced this book on so many levels. Like, to a great extent, like the single biggest inspiration on this is Small Gods, the book, right? Small Gods, and then China Mieville, but Terry Pratchett just inspires all my stuff. So, yeah. So yeah, like the art process for me, like, almost always inspires changes in the books, the world building, the story. Right, like the statue right here is like the most obvious example, but like just vibes wise, like I'd come back and look at these characters and it would kind of, I'd just be, okay, what are they gonna do in this situation? And just kind of just looking at their pictures actually helped me think through that. So Lucas, yeah, you got more influence on the book than you
I appreciate that.
I mean, just a couple details that I love is I love this gourd on legs right behind this antler. Love that little detail. And then something that keeps snapping my eye is in the back there. It looks like the Michelin Man sitting on top of a tower, sitting next to the Taj Mahal, almost.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that little detail. I don't know why. My eye just goes straight there. It's fantastic. Like, it's like, okay, you've done enough exploring. Now start searching for details. It's amazing.
Yeah, a favorite part of it for me is this like multi-leveled wall right here with the faces and the fountain. I love that little bit.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. Can we see an early sketch? I know Lucas said that they exist.
We absolutely can. So let's go ahead and we'll stop that one and present.
I think the first one was probably the character sketches.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go with a window. That'll be easier. There we go. All right. Okay. So the very first thing that Lucas sent me was a sketch of the characters.
Oh, very cool. I mean, it's already so detailed.
Okay, and now I want the comic book version. Sorry.
A sketch. I was expecting more lines and like kind of what's back here in this action movement. And instead you give me this. And I'm just like, well, now I want, like Virginia says, can we get a comic release too?
Well, I don't think we've mentioned it yet. But Lucas's bread and butter is comic book art. He has worked on a ton of really cool graphic novels. The first one of his I read, and still one of my favorites, is Kill the Minotaur. I love that one. Witch Doctor, Count Crowley. Are you allowed to talk about your newest project yet?
Oh, well, it came out at Christmas, so that was a it was for DC.
Oh yeah,
Batman and Santa Claus fighting medieval ghosts. Which,
amazing.
It was really fun. Jeff Parker was the writer on that, and he kind of rope-a-doped me in, and I was really happy he did.
Yeah. So yeah, Lucas does amazing character work.
I just wrote down Kill the Minotaur, so that's where I'm starting.
Oh, it's fun. Kill the Minotaur actually has like some thematic similarities. Just this huge like built space, right? Just architecture kind of overwhelming humanity.
Yeah, it's a fun one for sure.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So, I love your Zonai-ish note there.
Yeah. I was gonna say like you can blur it out. Nintendo's very litigious.
I doubt they'll notice.
Yeah.
And so then we go on. We've got here's an early kind of action sketch.
There you go. That's a sketch, actual, like what you were expecting. That's the kind of sketch that doesn't hurt our feelings for not being able to draw.
No, just got a Disney castle there.
Yep, totally. I think I did this while we were just online, like talking about it, and then I don't know if I posted it in the chat or sent it to you right after, but yeah.
I think he's posted in the chat, yeah. And so we went from there to a little bit more fleshed out version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Virginia, I think you did a great job with the typography. I have to say, like the placement, because like
thank you.
the size and the integration, like you're not detracting, you're just reinforcing Lucas's art, which is a skill.
That is the end game. But there were a lot of iterations from start to finish because we had, well, first there was font choice and then there was placement. We briefly played, actually not even that briefly, with going diagonally through the sky so as not to go on top of any of the mimics in town at all. But then you couldn't see the cool, rising planet in the background, etc., all that stuff. So, yeah, ultimately.
No, I think the solution you found is perfect.
And
I mean, it's kind of just to have like that thing just that is like a point of interest, like just jutting out into the space is like, just again, like you handled that perfectly. I love it.
Thank you. That was, I mean, it was very fun to play with your artwork and
you guys
get all that
now
to work.
have to work on all the other covers. However many books in the series.
Oh yeah,
I would love that. Yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, I had zero plans to change it. I'm so happy with this cover. I will say one big thing about working with Virginia. All these iterations, I was saying maybe we should try this color, maybe we should try this, and what we ended up going with was so close to Virginia's, just very original. Like
the gold,
yeah,
like actually metallic gold, but not standard metallic, metal gold.
Oh yeah.
Which was hand, like I did hand detailing on that for
this
like
is hand detailed
burnishing and stuff. Yeah, so like we used a font, but when I went in to do the gold effects, I actually went in and hand drew the highlights and lowlights and stuff. And actually like I have like a cool texture brush for the overall texture. But then, added additional burnish marks and stuff in different places or whatever. But like that's, I mean, mostly boring to hear me talk about and very
but now I'm seeing the cool little rim light that's coming in from the left side. I love
that. And there are settings to do all of that, like just with buttons, but because of the type of metal effect I was headed for, I didn't actually want to use the automatic settings that Photoshop has and stuff, which I use on a lot of my stuff. But for this particular effect, I thought it worked best doing it by hand. So it was a little more subtle and a little less uniform everywhere.
This is amazing. Such a gorgeous cover. How many more covers can we expect in this series? I'm asking how many books you're planning.
It's planned as a trilogy plus an anthology. I definitely want to get Lucas and Virginia back in all three. Already budgeted for it. So
I already said yes.
I'm saying yes now if that wasn't clear, and I can't remember if I said
yes. Okay. Yeah.
Sweet.
I hope I asked before. I wasn't just taking
I think you did, and I'm sure I would have said yes because I have zero reasons to not want to be on this. So yeah.
Okay.
And this book is dropping February 11th, correct?
Yep. Yes, indeed. All right. So
are there pre-order links for this already?
Yes. I can send you those here in a bit.
I will make sure to include those in the description box down below, as well as links to the Mage Errant series, because I highly recommend it. It is fantastic. School setting, mages, multiversal, the best Sphinx ever created. And Enron Crux is and
influence. Yeah.
I love Mage Errant. I love it so much. So yeah, those will definitely be linked in the description box down below for people to check out.
Yeah. Though just quick Enron Crux bit of trivia. Yeah. I decided from day one she was never ever going to ask a riddle. Not one.
I mean that I feel like that would be against like Candoron's characterization, just because she's already so nuanced and she's got such a deep history that like just making a standard Sphinx that asks riddles, I don't know. I don't know. It's such a good series, and I love Hugh, and I love Talia. Is it Talia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Talia. I have a pretty strict pronounce things however you'd like rule.
It's been a minute, so I was just like, am I remembering character names correctly? But yeah, there's just such a good series.
That's good.
Is this one of the final sketches on screen?
We are getting
it's
closer.
It's the final rough sketch. So
Yeah.
I think it's the final rough sketch, and it's just that, you know, at this point the placement doesn't really change. It just gets tighter, and we just work out a few more details.
Well, it's
Yeah,
fun to
like,
see like, the
next one.
details you've added, because there's no pumpkins, there's no birds, but like you've still got that golden light coming off the cobblestone, and we can see that the eyeballs are on the lamp post now, and
you can see more of those going.
Ah, there we go.
Cool.
I think that's probably like the last one before it's just you start dropping in color and stuff. Yeah.
There's just one more before color started. And we made some more tinkers, like we changed Thea's face a little bit. Well, I described it as exhausted / depressed retail worker expression. That's what I want.
I know that face.
It was a very
totally
helpful,
nailed
description. Yeah. Thank you.
It's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. And then what we've got here actually is a version with a little bit less color leading. So you can see there's no clouds in this one yet.
The detail, though, it's almost. This is something like I feel like I would have an art print on my wall of. Like this is stunning, but at the same time, it doesn't scream book cover yet. This feels like wall art almost.
I fully plan to someday get like big full-size frame versions of all my covers up on the wall, my walls.
There's a richness to it that, like, because you're not getting that distant push in the background. Wow. Just unbelievable. Look at the detail in the water. Like the way the shadows play off the water. You've got droplets coming off. You've got the sparkles. I love the kind of twisting of the clouds, like almost a distortion, like they're being pulled somewhere almost.
I saw somebody. I feel like I think I stole that from a Magic card, because like I vaguely remember. I don't remember which artist it was, but yeah, they just had like these kind of sort of gently clouds that were gently curving in toward like the subject, and it like was really subtle, and
I feel like I know what I feel like I know the artist who does that trick. Like from my days playing Magic. Okay.
I think it might be Jesper Edgesing. I think if I'm remembering correctly, that's probably who I like. Let's call it an homage, I guess. But I know I've seen him do something similar, and I didn't remember that that's who it was until just now. But he's one of my favorite Magic card artists of all time. He also has a very expressive, borderline cartoony style, and just really excellent expressiveness.
There's some amazing Magic card artists.
Oh, there 100% sure there is. This is a stunning. This is one of my favorite covers I think I've ever seen. I love all the detail.
Yeah.
Because I feel like one of the things I love is because a lot of the times when cover art is done for a fantasy book, it may not necessarily capture the story. Famously, we've got Chris McGrath doing Dresden with a big hat or something like that. And Dresden's never once worn a hat in the entire series. And now it's a running joke. But like this feels like I know what the story is going to be like. And having read a few pages of this already, this just emulates it so beautifully.
I think part of that is just part of that's the influence I got from the cover while finishing the book. Part of it is just Lucas kind of keying into me talking about it for years. And just
it's just your I think it's just because you created something that was so just evocative of like fun and like just it was exactly the kind of thing that I don't do a lot of book covers, at least in the past. I hope to do more, but if I could have picked a kind of like style or book cover to do, this is like what I would have. Something in the realm of like, you know, the Discworld artists, and it's fully painted, but it's got some, you know, it's got some cartooniness to it. It was just perfect, and I when we first started talking about it, it was months later that I got started, but I couldn't wait to do it, just because the more we talked about it, the more I was just like locking in. I think I saw that first thumbnail in my head like a month before we even talked about it for the last time. It was just like, because you were talking about them, yeah, they have to be on the wall, but we have to see the city, and then we need like, you know, some close up, some kind of like, you know, medieval buildings on top of the wall represented, and then yeah, it was just the only way. Honestly, it looks like this because that was the only way I could come up with to do it, to like fit everything in. Not because I was like, you know, it makes for a cool composition, but like I kept trying to figure out like, okay, well, if they're on the wall and we're looking up at them and we can see the buildings up there, then you can't tell that there's a big old city, you know, stretching out. Or if we're facing them on the edge of the wall, we can see the city, but then we can't see the buildings, you know. And so it was just like
It all
a lot of comic book panel compositions happen that way, where it's just like, how do I fit everything in? And then it ends up being kind of cool, like if you're lucky.
Yeah, both Lucas and Virginia, like, just so clearly have so much better like spatial intelligence than I do. Just like figuring out how to fit all this in. I'm not bad at spatial intelligence, but like just the way they fit everything together, you know, both in the art and the typography, it's just like,
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of Virginia, I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but she writes her own books as well, and I will have those linked in the description box as well if you want to check out other bits of her creative work as well, including her stories. So those will be there in the description box down below.
So I've got some more goodies. So Lucas prepared something really cool for us.
Okay.
Lucas prepared a process video.
Oh,
You might want to scrub. I don't know how long we have, but you might want to scrub through it. It's like 9 minutes long.
We've got 9 minutes. Or you
can just leave it on in the background while we talk or whatever. But
sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Make sure it starts.
This isn't part of the cover. It's just I've been wanting to learn to just record time lapses for a while, so I used this meeting, cover reveal as an excuse, and just did a little quick portrait of. I'm so sorry, I've forgotten the character's name. Is it Avon?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I didn't forget.
So I went to school for graphic design and web design. And so just seeing this is just bringing back, this is more advanced than I ever got, but still it brings back good memories of just the creative process. And wow, like already we're 2 minutes into this, and we've already got fully defined features, eyes, horns. Is that an ascot, dare I say?
Little neckerchief scarf. It's like her little red scarf that
at this point I'm going to call it an ascot because frankly
because how often do you get to use the word ascot in a conversation, really?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I own an ascot and I never get to wear it.
Bring back the ascot.
Yeah,
I mean, look at that.
I want to watch Scooby-Doo now
already. I should wear an ascot in some video and just never say anything.
We need more ascot representation outside Scooby-Doo, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Never complain about Fred from Scooby-Doo. He's the best, but wow.
That is gorgeous already.
Yeah. Hey Virginia, why don't you blurb your books real quick?
What?
Yeah,
no.
Yes. Elevator pitch.
I am not prepared to talk about my own books. I came here to talk about typography.
Oh.
My own books. Let's see. I have a couple different series. the main one that most folks have heard of starts with the book called Blade's Edge. It is epic fantasy inspired by feudal Japan. I was living in Japan when I wrote the first draft of the first book. So my one-liner for it is Alana, Song of the Lioness meets Avatar: The Last Airbender with a dash of Shogun. So if that appeals,
I never read
then
this.
that's a good place to start.
I need
That
because I
appeals.
love
That
Shogun,
definitely
and I
appeals.
love. Yeah, that
Yeah.
does appeal.
It's sort of like a less dark sort of Kaigen. I actually wrote Blade's Edge about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years before sort of Kaigen was written, but it definitely, yeah. It's like a less sad, but similar.
You had me at Alana.
All right, sweet.
I love Tamora Pierce.
Yay!
Protect
Yeah.
for
Well,
the
if you,
Small is my all-time favorite series.
all right, awesome. Well, yeah, then you might enjoy Blade's Edge. So that's one series. Then I have a humorous urban fantasy series called, well, it's the Victoria Marmot series, which starts with Victoria Marmot and the Meddling Goddess, and that is a parody satire-esque series. I love urban fantasy, but I do make fun of a few of the tropes in those. There are a lot of Twilight references that are meant to be humorous. There are some references to She Who Shall Not Be Named. This was back before we learned
Yep.
any of
Yep.
that. But anyway, and then there's a lot of Pratchett references as well, because I'm a massive Terry Pratchett fan as well.
High five.
Yeah. And then I'm just releasing next month, actually, shortly before this book comes out, I'll be launching fantasy romance, which is the first time I've delved into romance, called Dungeons and Dragon Dating, which
What
is
level of spice are we talking about? Is this something that I can
very
read?
mild, very mild.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it just happens to be like I enjoy spicy books as well, but this one the characters don't really get up to much physically, so
That's fine with me.
but
I prefer that.
yeah, well, there you go. If that's your preference, then that's a good one, and that comes out February 4th. So
Very cool. Look at this already.
Mhm.
Wow. Sorry, I'm
Don't worry,
watching
the
the
last
time.
chapter,
yeah,
this is
Yeah.
really
it's a
mesmerized.
lot of noodling. You can
You know what? The way the colors look right now really remind me of Norman Rockwell.
Norman
Yeah.
Rockwell.
Yeah. Which huge compliment. I love Norman Rockwell.
They don't do it like that anymore, and they really should.
Yeah. Oh, have you seen his
just a master,
really
yeah.
political, like late career paintings?
I don't know.
I think I
Oh,
have.
I
I
did
don't
once,
think I
but I don't
have them
remember
in any
anything.
of my books though.
They're incredibly powerful. He did these paintings of from the civil rights movement. He did one of Ruby Bridges being escorted to school by the soldiers. He did one inspired by the killing of several freedom riders. Just intense stuff. And this is from the guy who does like cute paintings of, little boy and a little girl fishing, or
Right.
old man walking the dog, or
What we associate Americana with, basically.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look at the shading, the detail. So with this time lapse, how, like, because obviously a time lapse is sped up. It's moments of. How long does this process take? Like an hour's worth of work?
I lost a little bit in the middle. This was like late last night. I totally just had been meaning to learn to use. There's like you need like 3 or 4 different software programs. Just OBS is the open source like video one, and then you got to do audio, and then you got to do editing. And so I just really spent all yesterday just figuring this out. But the maximum preset I could speed it up was, I think it was 12 times or 16 times. So yeah, this was a few hours, and then the last the last like 3 minutes of this 9-minute video is just a whole lot of like redoing detail and stuff, which is like just stuff I get lost in, and I wish I
You're in the weeds.
Yeah, I get it. Exact. That is the term for it. You get in the weeds on something, and it's dark out, and you just I have a hard time recognizing when I'm spinning my wheels, and I do it on every single digital painting. Not so much on black and white comic book art, because you can certainly edit it if you're doing it digitally, but it's really just like you get the lights and the darks right, make sure all the characters look right, and then it's just great, next page. But I have a lot less experience painting, so that's the thing that I tend to like get really stuck on.
Well, if this is
less so the more I do it, but yeah.
If this is you with less experience, I can't wait to see when you are experienced.
I'm trying to take more jobs that like let me do this, like where I could I work for another author named SG Blaze, who does a series called The Last Lumanian, and my job is to illustrate just like a lot of the characters, just as you would see them, almost in like a concept art kind of pose. And I've been working for them for off and on for 4 years now, and the going back and looking at the characters from like 4 years ago, it's just like, man, I would just do it for free if you just let me redo it, and the ones now, I'm actually like starting to be like, oh, it turned out well, and it didn't take me like, it only took me like a day and a half or whatever, but
crossed out done.
You think you're done, and then there's always like one more thing. So anyway,
Fantastic.
I feel that writing. All right, so the last thing to show off, then I have a bunch of the various versions of you can see like how many different files I've got there for different versions of the manuscript and stuff. I got some font tests.
Ah, yes, the font test.
Oh yes, the font test.
We went through a bunch.
We did.
Yeah, so like these were the 3 from the original set that we were really looking at.
Yeah, this is just testing the font without any color or anything. Just like what font do we like?
That's a good start. It's definitely a good start. Is it better?
Mm-hmm.
And then we did end up going with those.
I don't know that I saw that one.
Yeah, we had a bunch more too.
Mm-hmm.
This was one that I was very tempted by, but
I like that.
It's a very playful font.
Oh yeah,
it's very cool.
Yeah.
I think ultimately the finished product is better, but that is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's just too playful. Like this is a very playful book, but there's also a lot of seriousness to it as well. So,
and I think it was also competing with the details in the cover art too much. Like it was just a little too distracting.
Yeah.
Here we have we're playing around with various versions of the angled art up here.
Right. You were mentioning briefly that this was considered.
Yeah.
I like it because it's unexpected. It's like it's not something you see on a lot of covers.
Yeah.
So it like right there, it just kind of jumps out.
I'm glad you didn't go with that, because even though it's really cool and it leaves the art exposed, like it pulls the eye away from the art. And so I do think it is competing a little bit. So like my eye sees the art and then goes, well, what's that? And I look up to the corner instead of looking at the amazing detail. I
like
this one a lot.
That was a close. Out of all of our angled ones, that was my favorite. And we still would have done the gold treatment to that eventually, but this was. It takes so long to do all of the texturing and stuff. It is not at all worth doing until you sorted out which font you're using and what its exact positioning. So that's why all of these are just white font.
I could see people saying that eat. instead of the city.
Right.
That will
Yeah.
eat the world.
Yeah.
Oh, do the meme with the cat and the
Yeah.
yelling lady. Yeah.
That each city would the world.
I did like the playing with the dark
The
letters
different-
versus the light letters
yeah.
across the horizon.
Here we can start
So
to see
after
them
we,
slowly be interwoven.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that one I
no.
just straight up pushed some of it behind the lamppost. I was like, yeah, whatever.
yeah.
We don't need the, we just need the lamppost.
All right, and then
I
after
like
that,
them.
The phases.
this is the first colored version.
Right.
I think this is immediately the right call.
Yeah. And you can see how close this is to the final.
Yeah,
too.
from here it was just texture.
Wow.
Well, texture and then me being indecisive.
That's true. I forgot. We did play with a bajillion different textures. I did ice, and what else did we do? We did ice.
I've got them around here somewhere.
Silver, and we did, yeah. We did play a lot with texture and color. But...
Yeah. Here we go. Here's the. So we've got it was brass
That's
finish.
pretty. Yeah, maybe.
And then I'm glad I was paying you hourly. You were billing me hourly because I felt so bad, like asking for all the variants, like even paying you.
It's why I charge hourly, because that way when someone asks me to do a bajillion variants and we ultimately go back to the first one, I've lost nothing. I'm well paid for my time.
Here we got
But
bronze.
it was also fun.
Foil.
Yeah, that's the final. But we skipped.
This one. What you doing here?
Uh-oh.
Here, monitor. Please open.
Updating.
This is the one I was most excited to show off because this was very.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
That is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. I was so tempted to pick this one.
Oh, and that one has more mimics in it. You can see that was the one where we had. We still had some mimics in the text and the Y and the.
Oh yeah.
Lucas, I'm sorry. I just straight up copied, just. Copied and plucked and placed bits of mimic from within.
It's raw material.
Yeah.
Ready for the... No, I love that.
That is cool.
And then
because it blends in a little bit with the sky a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one looks like it's see-through a little bit, like you mess with the opacity a little bit.
The opacity is actually still the same. It's just that there's a sort of a different mirrored effect on the text itself.
Yeah.
But
I think the final pops the best for sure. Just that I feel like the light the lighter yellow of the first version feels like 90% there, and then when you see this, you're just like,
This is the final version again, and it's so close to the original. Like, I think this lesson here is, the visual people know better than us, just word people. I should have just listened to. No, I'm glad we
enjoyed it. You can't be sure until you do the explorations.
Yeah, and it's fun to play with it. I mean, hey, I enjoyed making those other textures happen. That was a good time.
And we did keep one little friend here in the typography too.
One little mimic hanging out on the H.
Yeah.
We'll name that one Virginia. Anybody who watches this live stream, that mimic on the H, that's Virginia.
It's canon now. Officially canon.
There you go.
We're going to make it a thing.
All right. I expect to be written into the next book, John.
Tucker,
I can do that.
As a mimic that gets, tuned out of existence or whatever, but still.
She'll be on a sign on a letter H.
Yeah, exactly. Like a Hollywood type sign, but with the H and try to eat somebody and get tuned out of existence. Amazing. I'd be down. Why that winds up being a named character is anyone's guess. But
There are definitely a few name mimics in the
Okay,
series.
sweet. All right, excellent.
Yeah. I'm
Do
just.
we have any more goodies to unveil? Or are we
I,
at the cover reveal conclusion?
let me. Lucas sent some other stuff.
That was it. Wasn't it?
Yeah, I think everything else was covered in there. Yeah, I
All
think
right.
that. All right.
We have gotten to get
and that is the.
deep dive into the whole creative process. We've got to see Lucas at work, basically through time lapse, almost live, and see how you function, which is awesome. We've gotten to see all the drafts of the typography, and we are left with the inspirations and everything that makes up the city that would eat the world. And it is one hell of a cover. I love this thing. I am going to get a physical copy of this because I have to have this.
High praise.
I have to have it. I might even try and find a way to front face it. I don't have a lot of room, but we're going to make something happen here. But yeah.
I'm always fighting for shelf space, but this definitely gets priority.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, it's your own work. This is part of your portfolio. You could just hold that up. See this? Yeah. Yeah, I did that. That's me.
Well, I'm glad that it's out now too, because now I can show it around and post it occasionally. But like, yeah, it's
Absolutely,
without a doubt, like my favorite thing that I've done in the last year. Just because the material was so interesting, and because John is a dear friend, and just so nice to work with. And I'm stoked that there's at least a few more, so we'll get to do it again.
Yeah, I'm very honored that John reached out to me to do this. It's been fantastic coordinating and chatting, and I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and I can't wait to not only read the book but also review it and get more people interested in Mage Errant and more gods than stars, and just the sky is the limit when it comes to John Bierce books. So thank you so much, John. This has been awesome. Again, I will have a whole bunch of links for people to explore in the description box down below. We'll have Virginia's books. We'll have John's books. We'll have pre-order links if those are available. We'll have, I mean, if Lucas, if you want me to put a portfolio link for you down there, I'll put it in there too.
Sure. Yeah. It's just my name as a website. Please, yeah, you're welcome to link to it. I haven't.
We'll make it rain link
in a while, but I'll put this up as soon as I can. And there is like a new showpiece.
But I think we have covered all of our bases, coming in right under an hour. I just want to thank everybody for taking time out of your day. John, I know you're probably tired due to the time difference, but yeah, this comes out again February 11th.
I just want to show off how I've been functioning for a 4 a.m. Interview.
Oh, I was gonna guess your black tea, but that works too.
Whatever you got to do to make it work and get the interview done. I really appreciate it. I know the time difference is wild.
Yeah, exactly 12 hours off from you.
Well, with that out of the way, again, links in the description box down below. Please pre-order the book, and we've got just weeks until we can get this on our Kindles, on our bookshelves, and in our hands. Till next time, guys. Peace out. Stay magical. Bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons. Thank you for supporting my passion and my hobby. It means the world to me.